Okay. Ooh, we got a couple of things looking from ForgeBox module of the
So,
week. Got a
so
bonus.
I'm I failed to put this up in the new releases, so I'm hijacking this real quick to mention that QB 11 is out. The breaking change, as usual, probably won't affect any of you, but I try to be very explicit because there's nothing worse than upgrading to a minor version and having something break. The big thing here is Boolean casting. So all of you Postgres fans out there rejoice.
Yay.
And SQLite actually, which is if you pass a Boolean in, a true fault, Java lang Boolean, it's going to keep it, it's going to set it, it's going to use the right SQL type. If you use a grammar that does not support that, like MySQL or SQL Server, it will convert it to the bit or the tiny int that it needs to be and use that. So that's what's coming in. And new grammars can opt into this behavior with a couple of functions. And so yeah, it's a breaking change because those used to just if you set in true to this function, it would be a string. It'd
Yeah.
say, "Hey, is this the varchar true?" Which, if you've used Postgres does not do. Uh, how do you put it? Loose typing. Yes, it needs to be strict. So, hopefully, for all of those of you using Postgres, this is a very nice upgrade.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Postgres really does stick to the specifications. It is very strict on a lot of things. No loosey goosey there, but
Right.
a lot of power and performance come with that. So very cool. Okay, so bonus release there from Eric, but we are also going to talk about a new module. This is the Coldbox Open Telemetry module. So this here, for anyone who wants to sort of figure out what's going on, it's a way to help you trace data and basically waterfall visualizations of request workflows. So Eric will explain that much better than me, but I've heard about this a lot when people are dealing with, Docker and all the stuff in the cloud where basically one request comes in and there's a problem, but they've got to go look in 5 or 6 different places to look for the Docker logs, look through the load balancer logs, look through all the different logs to find this request, and it's really hard to do. So OpenTelemetry was basically a way to have that key pass through all those different places in the request, so that way you can sort of match them up. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
So this has a few things built into it for us, which is adding traceparent and tracestate headers if there isn't one supplied. So basically, if this is the first request coming in, it will add this trace, so every other request is going to see it. And it has a few integrations to some of our other tools like Hyper. If you're using that for your HTTP requests, then these trace headers will automatically get appended and sent through. So then on the next hop, you can know that this is the same request. Logstash, so if you're sending information to Logstash, and also a SQL commenter
Mm,
header. So SQL commenter is a feature in QB and a standard that Google came up with and has probably abandoned, but it still works, which adds in a nice comment that can be parsed out with rich information to your SQL queries. So not only do you know this request came in and it made these HTTP requests, but also these database requests, and you can tie them all together. And being an open standard, there's other tools that can read this and you can switch between them. So some neat stuff. And if you want to know more about that, you should message John and say, "Hey, John, you should talk about this at Into the Box."
yeah, I
And that
think.
would be John Clausen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good session too. Yeah, I mean, tying all this stuff together, I think, is getting to be more and more difficult the more services we have. And imagine this for WebSockets and everything else too. Like, yeah, it gets kind of crazy. But yeah, so it's really cool. I mean, a lot of places are using OpenTelemetry now, a lot of support for it. Like you said, a lot of tools and tool chains built around it. So great to see it being first class in Coldbox as well.
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe, like Cloudflare, one of our favorite things, and other CDN sites like that, I believe already are adding these trace parent or trace state information. So like if you're using one of these, like it's already coming in, and then this module is just going to propagate that through. So you're just going to get a nice, good picture of start to finish through all the different services that you're using. So
yeah, and that's sort of the idea there. So trace it to see where it's hitting. You know, maybe you got one Docker instance that's misbehaving. This can try and trace your stuff through and see if what they're hitting. Yeah, it's definitely useful, and I've seen some APN tools out there that use it, and it's really nice to see that sort of whole picture, you know, across all those different services. So yeah, that's super cool. When I figured out what the CB OTel was, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So thought that deserved a mention on ForgeBox Module of the Week this week. So very cool. Good work. That was our ForgeBox Module of the Week, brought to you by Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition, proudly sponsored by Order Solutions. You can see the new episodes every week on cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io or on the Order Solutions YouTube channel.